It's week 4 of the high school football season here inside the zone. He's Justin Kinney of the News Sentinel. I'm Glenn Marini. And Justin, some interesting matchups this past week. I think we knew Carroll and Homestead were going to get challenged, perhaps by some teams that we didn't know who they were going to be right off the bat, but both coming up with losses. They play each other this week. This is a huge game for both Carroll and Homestead if they want to stay alive for SAC championship implications.
Yeah, you mentioned there's two games like that. There's Homestead Carroll and there's Northside Dwenger. They're both elimination games, so to speak. Loser has 2 losses. They're pretty much done in the SAC race. So you look at Homestead and Carroll, both coming off losses. It is a huge game for both teams just because of, like he's mentioned, the SAC implications for both teams.
When you take a look at what Carroll did, I think that's the one that shocks people a little bit more, the Northside Carroll game, because I think even though Dwenger hadn't looked Dwenger-esque, they have that aura, that mystique of their program that they're going to figure it out, going to get it done. Not saying that Northside doesn't. They'll be our FWO Team of the Week tomorrow, and for very good reason. But I think people were most surprised about the Carroll loss, I should say, 36-32. It happened in the final seconds, 14 seconds. Arian Yeavas runs one in. What do you think was the biggest key in that game? How does Carroll learn from that, and what's the next step for them?
Well, that defense, I'm very surprised they gave up 32 points. I mean, Northside has a phenomenal offense with Arian Yeavas at quarterback, but I think we kind of expected after seeing the early part of the year with Carroll, they weren't challenged that much the first 2 games, but going back to last year even, we've seen that defense really be dominant. So we felt, at least I felt going in, okay, they kind of got a taste of the SAC weeks 1 and 2, not great competition. Now they got a little step up in competition, but they'll be ready. And, they may have been ready, but Northside really kind of tore them up on offense, Northside did. And, that Carroll defense struggled. So how do they adjust? At least they have a familiar opponent now in Homestead. They know what to expect. But going forward in the second half of the year, that Carroll defense is a little bit of concern right now.
When you take a look at what Homestead did, obviously Bishop Dwenger jumped. They had a 4-touchdown lead at one point in this ball game. So what do you learn about Homestead that can maybe help them down the road? I know coaches have said there's not a good time to have a good loss.
Yeah.
But they figured out what some holes were, and maybe they can go from there. What did Homestead figure out?
Well, they figured out they got to hold on the ball. They have 4 turnovers inside the 20. You have the fumble inside the 5. You have 2 end zone interceptions. And then you have the 1st and goal inside the 10, and you hike the ball over the head of the quarterback for a loss of 30, kills another drive. So those were 4 drives in the red zone that ended with turnovers, counting the turnover on downs after the bad snap. So Homestead needs to clean things up offensively. The first half, I thought they gave that game away to Dwenger. And the second half, Dwenger took it, and they outplayed Homestead in the second half. So it's a lot of mental mistakes that Homestead needs to clean up. I still think they were the better team on Friday against Dwenger. It's just the fact that if you're going to make that those mistakes, that amount of mistakes, a team like Dwenger is going to make you pay.
Carroll and Homestead, you mentioned they're familiar foes. They played 4 times in the last couple of years, once in the regular season, once in the postseason. Carroll's won the last 4. What do you see as the biggest keys in this series in Friday night's game that is going to ultimately decide who wins between the Chargers and the Spartans?
I think it's the better defense, and the team obviously doesn't make the mistakes, but the defenses need to come to play. Both of these offenses can put up points. Drew Kazai is just in his zone right now and can throw the ball, and Aiden Smith, we know what he can do. So it's going to be the defenses. I think both defenses had letdowns last week. They need to recover, move forward, and come out with a great performance on Friday, because I think that is the key on which defense can make them the most plays.